Waiting is the hardest part. I don't know about you, but sometimes it seems like you're waiting forever for the right things to happen. Do you ever feel like you pray and your prayers go unanswered? I felt this way too, but what I've realized with time and reading scripture is that I don't actually buy this idea that prayers go unanswered. I don't believe that at all. I believe God hears everything, and believe that God cares about our concerns. So I don't think that God ever lets a prayer go unanswered. I don't think that's biblical. Rather, it seems that all prayers are answered. It's just a matter of time and God's will. And that's what we have to recognize, is that it's not about when we want it or what we want exactly. It's about obeying God and believing that He has better plans for us than we do. So oftentimes we say that it's an unanswered prayer, but in reality, it's just God's will. And so I think that's the best way that God can answer a prayer. I want to make a point about waiting, and I feel like in this current moment, there's a lot of waiting that I'm going through right now, and I'm sure there's a lot of you guys out there who are waiting as well, and it seems like it could take years for things to come to fruition. And I know I'm speaking vaguely, but when I was a teenager, I often struggled with things not going the way that I expected. And now as I'm become more of an adult, I have seen these things happen. I've seen life be more fruitful and enjoyable. But when you're in that moment, when you're like a teenager, you never see beyond the veil. You never really know how your life could turn out. And so I want to give you guys hope that sometimes it just takes a little patience. And it's a good reminder that God does not always answer our prayers in a whim. Rather, a lot of times He will test our faith by making us wait. And usually it produces a fruitful reward in the end. And so I want to go through a couple verses, starting in Ecclesiastes 3, verses 1 to 11. It says, "For everything there is a season and a time for every matter under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to pluck up what is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep, a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, a time to keep, a time to cast away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. What gain has the worker from his toil? I have seen the business that God has given to His children of man to be busy with. He has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, He has put eternity into man's heart, yet so that he cannot find out what God has done from the beginning to the end." There's something mysterious about God's timing, that we don't actually know when our prayers will be answered, but we know that God will answer our prayers. It's just according to His time, and His timing is beautiful. We just have to trust in that. And so sometimes we can become anxious about the future, but there's two facts in Scripture that I want to point out. Matthew 6:34 says, "Do not be anxious about tomorrow, for we don't know what it will bring." But in comparison to Proverbs 27:1, it also says not to boast about tomorrow. And the point that I want to make, in kind of like a godly wisdom, I think, and you can test me on this, but I don't think we're really meant to think about the future. I think that we're supposed to be focused on today. How can we be better today? How can we love people today? How can we get through today sometimes? How can we trust in God today? That's ultimately what it comes down to. And sometimes it seems like our anxiety comes from thinking about the future, but ultimately we just need to take it one day at a time and trust in the Lord for today. And He will provide for all of our needs because He is Jehovah Jireh. So I think ultimately it is best to make your request known to God and then trust in His timing to answer your prayers. I don't think there's such a thing as unanswered prayers. I think there's such a thing as patience. And now I want to read Psalm 62. And this is in terms of waiting on the Lord. And it says, "For God alone my soul waits in silence. From him comes my salvation. He alone is my rock and my salvation, my fortress. I shall not be greatly shaken. How long will all of you attack a man to batter him like a leaning wall, a tottering fence? They only plan to thrust him down from his high position. They take pleasure in falsehood. They bless with their mouths, but inwardly they curse. For God alone, O my soul, wait in silence, for my hope is from him. He only is my rock and my salvation, my fortress, I shall not be shaken. On God rests my salvation and my glory, my mighty rock, my refuge is God. Trust in him at all times, O people. Pour out your heart before him. God is a refuge for us. Those of low estate are but a breath. Those of high estate are a delusion. In the balances they go up. They are together lighter than a breath. Put no trust in extortion. Set no vain hopes on robbery. And if riches increase, set not your heart on them. Once God has spoken, twice have I heard this, that power belongs to God, and that to you, O Lord, belongs steadfast love, for you will render to a man according to his work. Let us just trust in the Lord and love him, and he will take care of us. He will provide."